What's the stupidest reason you got in trouble in school? In 7th grade English class, a classmate looked pretty sad, so I asked her how she was doing. No malicious intent, just wondering what was making her so upset, but she started sobbing. I apologized and moved on. Later that day, I get pulled from a different class by a math teacher that I've never met before who yelled at me in the hallway making snide remarks about my parents and their parenting capacity. She made me sit in front of the principal's office to wait for the principal to talk to me for 4 hours, long after the school day has ended. When the principal finally did show up, he had no idea why I was sitting there. Middle school me was too shy to make a fuss about it, but in hindsight I should made a complaint against her. To this day, the girl that I supposedly bullied has no idea why the math teacher flipped out at me for saying my school picture sucked. I had no idea sucked was considered a bad word until I was put in detention for it. Like mine learning right here. Kind of like a story I heard from my mom. I think it was my grandmother who asked her mother, "What's French kissing?" To which she was given the reply, "Don't you ever say that." And she got grounded. That is a good example of how not to teach your children. Asking my mom about things I don't know might get me in trouble. Well, I just won't ask her stuff then. I'll figure it out some other way. For using my asthma medication in class. I was told to keep my inhaler in the office and to use it in there only. I was told it was distracting. Know what else is distracting? The sounds of someone gasping for air and having to be removed from class. Grad school. As in, full grown adult. One of my patients was a chill guy. We had one of those relaxed relationships. He would fist bump me after treatment was completed. The Dean of Academic Affairs did not like that. Got a 45-minute lecture on doctor-patient relationship, and how dare I violate that trust with a fist bump. A big part of healing is believing in your healer. A fist bump from my doc would tell me we got this more than any 10-second bedside conversation the old school authoritative doctors sporting a god complex have given. Stick to the fist bump and smile. Someone once poked a wasp nest in the school forest, and the whole swarm came out upon the school. The entire school sat detention for an hour. Understandable if you don't know who did it, but that's not the problem. We were sitting detention because the principal's son got stung. As it eventually turned out, it was actually his fault the swarm came down on us. I have cursed his name since the day I found out. In 11th grade I had gotten pink eye in both eyes. I'd never had it before, just thought I was having a reaction to my eyeliner or whatever. I was in second period, cooking 101. My teacher kept looking at me funny the entire class. Eventually she asked to talk to me in the hallway. She told me that I needed to go to the nurse's office because I was stoned, and she could tell by how fascinated I was with the cooking we were doing. I was so confused and kept trying to tell her I was having some sort of allergic reaction, but she wasn't having it and yelled at me, told me to grab my things and go now. Pretty much berated me while the whole class could hear and had me so frustrated/embarrassed I was in tears. Walked into the classroom, everyone was staring at me in silence, grabbed my stuff and went to the nurse. One look at me and she confirmed the pink eye. Got to go home and stay home for a few days. I remember my teacher tried to apologize for the incident. Class was super awkward after that. For not looking at the teacher during lesson, I wasn't fidgeting, just sitting at my desk staring into space. We had a payment system in 3rd grade where you'd get dollars for good behavior, finishing homework, cleaning up after lunch, and lose them for bad behavior. At the end of each quarter we'd get to use the dollars to buy shit at the book fair. Every kid wanted to stock up. Now each task would get you between $1 to $2. Each day you could only get like 3 maximum. She charged me $20. It was literally heartbreaking and took me a full month to recover. Turns out I had focal epilepsy and was having episodes in class. Got treated like a shitty kid for it all through high school. I checked out a book on African tribes from the library in the 4th grade. I told the teacher about how the book had topless women in it thinking I was helping. She confiscated the book and had me suspended from school. I got in trouble for cheating on one of my math exams. The teacher found a piece of paper in my pencil case. I got sent to the principal's office. When the principal asked me about what I wanted to say in my defense, I simply told him to take a look at the note. It turned out to be a shopping list. I was allowed to retake the exam the following week. My friend got in trouble for this when he was actually writing a list of weird events to happen in something he was into at the time. Can't quite remember what. The teacher demanded to see the note, then read a list containing items along the lines of Greg set fire to the hospital, and Greg proceeded to shoot Lindsay, and the ghost of Lindsay haunted the rest of the people on the island. I tripped on a loose tile and bumped into a teacher, causing her to spill her coffee on herself. I apologized and showed her the tile. She went on for months about how I did it on purpose. Even got the principal and my folks involved. For the rest of the year she told me I couldn't come back to her class unless I apologized for doing it on purpose. Never went back to her class. Though I initially apologized for the incident, I never once apologized for doing it on purpose. Fuck you, Ms. Helm. Back in high school, had a gym teacher that wished to be any teacher other than gym teacher. Come the driver's ed course. There's some BS 3-page pamphlet she tells us to read through and summarize. I do just that. She decides my summary of a shortest pamphlet is too close to something she found online, so she makes a big huff about it, and I literally have to march over to my English teacher with the summaries, have her evaluate them, and sign off on a form that no, she didn't classify my summary of a BS short pamphlet being somewhat similar to any other summary of a BS short pamphlet classified as plagiarism, or was any cause to pursue further action. For fighting. The school asshole sucker punched me, and I didn't retaliate. It was even caught on tape. The zero tolerance policy is one of the stupidest things ever. 100% agree. Almost got a suspension for doing nothing. Then my mom, absolute legend, threatened to call the police, claiming the school did nothing to ensure my safety after seeing all my bruises and scrapes from fights. I threw a closed pen to my friend, who was like 3 feet away from me, and the teacher freaked out. He made a big deal out of it in front of the whole class for a solid 5 minutes, and then emailed my parents. Luckily my mom was able to see my side of things and she said, "Doesn't that teacher have better thing to do than email me about my child throwing pens?" We still laugh about it from time to time. I got ISS, in school suspension, basically detention during school hours, for being in a food fight, even though I wasn't. They said I was a part of it, because I dropped some crumbs from my cupcake onto the floor. Zero tolerance policy, baby. This reminds me of the time I slipped and fell into somebody else's puddle of juice. The very mean cafeteria lady gave me a mop and made me clean it up. She wouldn't let me change and didn't care that I got hurt. I was like 5 or 6 too. In middle school, the bell to send us home didn't go off on time. We were all standing by the door waiting to leave when all the other classrooms started leaving to go home. The hallways were filled, and teachers were telling people goodbye, so my classroom started to leave too. I was one of the first ones out, but apparently our teacher caught the end half of the class and made them sit down and tell them everyone who walked out the door, because I dismiss you, not the bell. So all of us who left like the rest of the school got detention. Clearing my throat before reading out loud to the class. She yelled at me and threatened detention because she thought I was faking it for attention, but I don't see how. Also, more context, I was a quiet kid, so I wasn't one to create drama to begin with. It just made me not want to talk more than I already didn't want to. In middle school, some kids were stomping on caterpillars during recess. I took a Ziploc bag from my lunch and put as many caterpillars in it as I could to rescue them by taking them somewhere else. I fast walked to get away fairly quickly without making a scene. A teacher stopped me and accused me of running and shoving. I didn't touch anyone at all, and when she saw the bag, she gave me a look of utter disgust. I got lunch detention for it. I ultimately switched out of that school because the staff had it in for me for some mental health issues and quirks that I later discovered was Asperger's syndrome. I dropped my phone down an entire flight of stairs once. I took it out of my pocket. It slipped. I tried to catch it with my hand, but I just ended up hitting it forwards and upwards. It landed at the bottom of the stairs flat on the screen. It was completely broken except for one thing, it could still receive phone calls. So next period my classmates kept calling me on repeat, and I could do nothing about it because my phone could not silence or ignore the call. Naturally, my teacher blamed me, and I was sent to the principal's office, who told me never to do it again, and that she'd be keeping my phone the rest of the day. I seriously don't think she realized it was fucking shattered, even when she was holding it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more daily videos.